Hello and welcome to the Feel to Heal group coaching call. I am Kim Wiseman and I'm going to be facilitating the call today. So just to share a little bit about me, I am a intuitive guide and coach. I've been doing this work for 2.5 years, facilitating group calls, emotional processing, shadow work, energetic healing work, in groups from anywhere from like 3 to 20 people. And I also do regular one-on-one client work as well. What got me into doing this work was my own pain, my own suffering, my own inability to sit with uncomfortable emotions. So that led me to some pretty dark places in my life. And it wasn't until I started to use and apply the tools that I'm going to share with you and guide you into during these calls that something started to change for me. So instead of getting stuck and being in resistance to what I was feeling, I started to welcome it all. Everything, sadness, anger, frustration, grief, despair, loneliness, all those things that we tend to label as negative, unwanted, unwelcome. So when I started to truly feel those things without judging myself, without making myself wrong, something started to happen. And what started to happen was that those emotions started to move through me in a different way. So instead of just feeling it and being stuck in it for days, weeks, sometimes even months, things started to move. I started to not only feel better, but the feelings moved more quickly, the emotions moved through me more quickly. And also, instead of defaulting into self-judgment and thinking it was horrible that this was happening, I started to go, oh, okay, there's something here that wants to be felt. There's some old energy, an old story that's manifesting as an emotion. It is coming forward into my awareness now so that I can feel it, heal it, and let it go and release it. So it's one thing to say that and describe that process, but it's a whole other thing when you actually get firsthand experience in feeling it and doing it for yourself. And that's what these calls are all about. It's about learning to feel things in a new way, learning to feel things in a way that maybe you never have before. And sometimes when we're just first starting to heal, it can be really, really helpful to have a guide to help you through it. And so that is the work that lights me up. It brings me so much joy to hold space and create a safe container for people to feel. Now, feelings can sit on a spectrum. There's, on one end of the spectrum, we have almost unbearable pain and discomfort. And that might be because of, an outer circumstance, something that happened in our lives, the death of a loved one, the illness of a loved one, illness for ourselves. Like there's all sorts of different things that can happen out there that creates an emotional response in us. And then there's also just that, like the inner terrain, the inner thoughts and feelings, the way we talk to ourselves and how that makes us feel. So yeah, so just acknowledging that there's a couple of different ways for different feelings to be kind of triggered and activated within us. And in some ways, it doesn't matter what that trigger is, although it matters in the fact that it's having a extreme impact on us. But yeah, so back to the spectrum. So the things on that higher end of the spectrum can be the external circumstance or the culmination of so much negative self-talk that we've created some really, really hard feelings. Like if we're constantly judging ourselves, that can put us into a state of such contraction that we no longer feel the beauty of life. And that's something we've done to ourselves. And because we've done it to ourselves, we can undo it too. So we don't always have to wait until we get to that extreme sort of discomfort and extreme pain before we start actually recognizing, oh, wow, there's something that I can do here. So I just want to say that these calls are not just for when you're in those moments of emergency where you have extreme discomfort. These calls are also for those lower end of the spectrum feelings and emotions. So, and learning to be with everything, learning to be with it all in a way that is allowing, a way that creates safety, in a way that brings unconditional love into those moments. And so I want you to know how to do that for yourself. Like, this isn't about you relying on me to do that for you. These calls are a co-creation, right? And what I mean by that is that I can't do what I do without your presence and without your willingness and courage to show up and start looking within, understanding what your inner terrain is like at any moment. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for having the courage to do this work in a group as well. That's not always easy, but I've seen time and again the power of doing this work in a group. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to share your deepest secrets or your deepest, explain in detail what it is that you're experiencing. Even just naming the emotions that you're struggling with at the moment, that's all that's required. You can share as little or as much as you want about your experience. So there is vulnerability in that, and I want to acknowledge you for the vulnerability that it takes to be here. But yeah, there's no requirement for you to share all of the details of your life in order to get benefit from being here. So just want to make that clear. Also, the co-creative nature of this is that in being here, it creates that trust. I trust you in your experience, and I will meet you there with unconditional love, with some guidance and support to help you navigate your way through whatever it is that you're experiencing. So let's just take a deep breath together. And just get settled into the space, centered in the body, dropping into the body here. Another deep breath. Okay, so let's dive in.